Do it live?
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
We'll do it live. Fuck it.
Fuck it.
Do it live.
Fuck it.
Fuck it, we'll do it
I'm
live.
doing it live.
We're doing it live.
Anyway,
This is Stumbling Down History Road. I am Jackson.
I'm D.
And over the phone we have
I am Chris.
I am Chris. It's a pretty
We
specific
do. We
name.
have I am Chris.
I am Groot.
Today we're going to be talking about the history of metal. More specifically, metal music. So, who can tell me a little bit about metal?
Is a genre of music.
Yes, very good. I'm so proud of you.
I mean, do you want me to start listing different metals?
Yeah, let's talk about different genres of
there's
metal.
cobalt, nickel, copper, iron.
Platinum, gold, copper,
I already
silver,
said copper.
titanium, rhodium,
I am
uranium,
titanium.
plutonium.
No,
Those are all metals.
Don't
Yes, I'm
think
aware.
titanium counts as metal.
it is not a metal song, no. Although,
I meant the music.
is titanium a metal?
No, I would consider that alt rock
That would be my thoughts as well.
at best. So I guess we should first talk about what actually makes the difference between rock and metal
There it is.
and where the variances lie. Because a lot of it overlaps and a lot of it just plays with itself pretty well. Like,
No, titanium's technically a metal. The actual element, I'm sorry.
but yeah, like punk rock and thrash metal and heavy metal, the original
I do like
origins,
thrash, as we established last time.
it's kind of like drawing some pretty thin lines in between the two. So let's talk about what makes metal metal and separates it from rock or blues or jazz.
I mean, funny enough, metal was birthed out of the blues kind of era. It started and grew out of the 50s and 60s.
Well,
And
there was definitely some inspirational, metal like inspirational music.
There's even a
things that
metal
would
blues song.
things that would turn into what we would know as metal, so individual songs. But we could go on about the first metal band, like true metal band, and that's what they stylized. And I think most people would consider that Black Sabbath. At least
yeah,
the
I would tend to
popular
think
one,
so.
Yeah, Black
in
Sabbath.
terms of popularity.
Although a lot of people consider one of the Iron Butterfly to be one of the more first metal.
So they were metal adjacent, and they definitely had some metal songs. Same thing with like Led Zeppelin, and you can look back
Led
at
Zeppelin's garage rock.
they're prog rock.
That was a Venture Brothers reference.
Yeah, but you could look at that. You can look back at some Jimi Hendrix. You can look back, if you really wanted to get into it, like how we said, it all more or less stems from blues, rock included.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But there was, if we're really, 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 really getting into the origins of it, pretty much anything that wasn't gospel music was considered satanic music, and that could be considered in some way an original form of metal, because metal is highly associated with black magic, the devil, things of that satanic nature.
That's really true. It is. And funny enough, there's some argument around why that is. Some people say it's because of exactly what you just said. And some people go with, it's because of the devil horn symbol that everyone likes to use.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan!
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan! Sorry, South Park.
There's our South Park reference counter. There's our counter to our counter.
It's just going to be little clicks. Yeah. By the way, not sponsored. Totally drinking rum. Not sponsored. Paid for by myself. Not sponsored.
Not sponsored by this bong.
Not sponsored by the bong. Not sponsored by my phone. Not sponsored by these lovely pieces of equipment that I needed to buy in order to have this type of setup.
Behind.
Ooh, yes. Hi.
Yeah, I adjusted mine so you can see my face a little bit.
I don't want to be seen. I want to be heard.
I mean,
Yeah,
I can only hope to be heard.
well, one day maybe when we're big enough, we'll venture down there and we'll visit you. What are you drinking tonight? Are you drinking
That'd be
something?
fun. Drinking a nice cup of coffee because anything else will put me to sleep.
Oh, you're supposed to have fun. Drink
Booze.
I'm
a
having plenty of fun.
But yeah, so like I said, we can look back on it and we can really, trace it back to pretty much anything that wasn't gospel, which would be considered one of the origins of metal. From there, as stated, blues would be the main factor, rock would be the main factor. There's a fantastic biography by Ozzy, the lead singer of Black Sabbath, for a while.
you could say Ozzy Osbourne. People know who he is.
Or you could just say Ozzy. And in the autobiography, he talks about how they never set out to make or play metal. They set out to play more aggressive blues. They just wanted
Really?
a harder, more aggressive blues. So, I found that was I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, that is pretty neat. And who could have ever guessed that they would
could
help
write a
birth
book.
an entire new
Agreed.
genre?
Who would have ever guessed Ozzy could write?
Did you see the thing recently that came out about him with LSD? He took it like it. It's like he took like 10 tabs of acid and ended up in a 2-hour conversation with the horse. And then he realized it's time to stop taking LSD.
I could believe that.
Honestly, that wouldn't shock me, is the sad part.
So, do you guys? We've already established your favorite genre of metal.
Thrush.
Yes. I kind of like operatic metal / heavy metal a lot. Just the classic AC/DC, Black Sabbath, Ozzy, Dio, heavy metal. Just,
Yeah, the old
very
schools.
generic, yeah. What about you?
I'm actually a pretty big fan of industrial and new metal. So, like, Disturbed, Rammstein, Sabaton, that's really where I find myself most of the time.
I do like
No,
a
that's
lot of
fine. I
industrial
mean,
too.
yeah, they're fantastic. Nothing against it, except we're just judging you entirely. Everybody's
Oh,
judging you.
thanks. That's great.
All 37 of our subscribers. 36? 37? I don't know.
36 last I checked.
30 some odd of our subscribers are judging you. And us.
Although
I'd say
think
I've
if you
lost
look at
cool
our
points, but
statistics,
I'm
we're
not
getting
sure it can
more
go
views
much
than we did
lower.
Subscribers.
What'd you say?
I think if you look at our statistics, we're getting slightly more views than subscribers.
Yes, we have over 200 some odd views.
Excellent.
Well, I meant like each video gets like about 50 views-ish, give or take.
Yeah.
Which isn't bad for people with 30 subscribers and no fucking...
Yeah, no promotions. Hey, don't like and subscribe.
It's a growing channel. It's fine.
Don't like and subscribe. Just fucking subscribe. I don't care if you like it or not. That's a lie. Anything helps the
I mean,
algorithm.
if they don't like it, they can just leave a
we're actually
comment
using
calling
that
you a
word
tool, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, like that
too.
guy in the comments who keeps trying to piss me off.
Yeah. Get rid of the fat one.
I don't know what that's about.
Who would ever know? But we were talking about different genres of metal. Let's list off some different genres. Would you like to start us off? D?
Sure, I'll go with your typical heavy metal.
D?
Black metal, death metal.
Okay, I guess we're going to just list off 2 or 3 at a time.
Well, I like
Well, shit then.
I like the
Right?
heavy shit. The heavy shit's the good fun stuff. When you can't understand it, just the real heavy double bass pedal drums and shit.
Thrash. Folk.
Pirate.
Industrial
Viking
power.
metal. Mongolian metal.
Yeah, those have become a thing now.
J-metal. Kawaii
Those
metal.
have become a thing.
Yeah, like the Who is touring the U.S. now. And
Dude, I really like The Who.
I'm the one who introduced you to them. Yes.
Yes, but I really like them.
Oh yeah. They did, dude. They made up a whole language and like kind of semi music thing for that Jedi game that just came out a couple years ago.
Yeah, probably. I really like them. I like a couple of the kawaii medals, the
Have I
baby
sh-
medals.
Have I shown you alien weaponry yet?
No, you haven't, but I've seen them.
Oh, have you heard of alien weaponry? They do Maori metal. They sing in Maori. It's actually really cool.
I've heard of them. They're fantastic.
Yeah. Alien Weapon X, I think it is.
No, it's just
You've also
alien
got
weaponry.
metalcore, all that
Yeah,
fun
different
stuff.
Cloud
Bullet for
core.
My Valentine.
I like you know what's actually kind of fun? Parody core. Have you heard of
Necrogoblicon?
No, Oakley Dokley's.
Oh, yeah.
Look up,
No, I
yeah,
haven't heard of them.
okay,
That's an interesting one.
It's a
So the Oakley Dokleys is a group entirely built around having every member be the persona of Ned Flanders. And then they just do some heavy, heavy metal.
yeah. One of their songs is "Reading Education" from that one episode from the one Treehouse of Horror skit. It's time for some reading education. Another one was White Wine Spritzers. It's funny though because I saw on Reddit they're not the only Simpsons themed like metal band.
No, there's those. There's
Like
Really?
Sabath. That's another parody.
No, like I'm talking like Simpsons specifically. Like there's
Yeah.
the Screaming Mauds or something like that. Yeah, there's a few other Simpsons ones, but yeah, there's also like Mech Sabbath.
Which is exactly how it sounds. Very heavily Black Sabbath inspired, but they're dressed up as the McDonald's mascots.
My personal favorite though is actually
Is it the dinosaurs?
yes,
The kids' dinosaurs?
Heavysaurus from Norway. Oh my god, they're so great. Have you heard of
I'm
them?
intrigued and terrified all at the same time about all of these.
So Heavysaurus is made for a Norwegian
I was
kids
gonna
show.
repack that.
Made for a Norwegian's kids show, and with that,
So just hold on to it.
they
Oh, it's still clogged. Okay.
with that they basically do like educational metal, and it's all this like classic metal / semi-industrial metal, just brutality, but it's all learning,
Yeah,
and they're
it's-
all dressed up as dinosaurs.
yeah, like heavy metal dinosaurs and stuff. It's great.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
That's kind of wild.
Check them out.
Yeah, they're not the only ones too.
I
Like
might have to.
educational metal in like Norway is a thing for kids.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
because
mean,
Norway and like that area is like huge into like heavy and death metal and stuff. Like there's like
Viking
the
metal is
Yeah.
huge.
like the it was like the Norwegian church burnings for a while because of that shit.
There's also, I believe it was Norway. It might have been Finland, and
There
like
was also a murder associated with metal music at one point, specifically in that area. I just can't remember the actual case.
there's a lot of that, and we'll cover that.
I mean, there was
So-
the suicides associated with
Well, we will cover that, but I want to talk about Hard Rock Hallelujah, done by I don't remember the name of it. It was like a 2005-2006 Finland group that was on Eurovision, and they dressed up similar to Guar, who you should also check out. Love Guar.
I will.
Wait, how do you not know Guar? At least on some minor.
No, I think he's talking about the Finland one.
Oh, okay. I was gonna
reference.
say because
Yeah, I'm gonna specifically check out that. I've heard of Guar on some level.
What do you mean you've
I-
heard of Guar on some level, but you haven't checked out?
everybody knows like at least kind of a Guar song or seen like one of their, like they have that whole thing where they got they got in trouble for a while back because they bring like fake celebrities on stage and then tear them apart and
Yeah,
stuff.
kill them. Yeah.
I think Paris Hilton was the one that really like pissed people off because this was when she was kind of big.
Yeah.
That sounds spectacular, actually.
Guar,
Yeah,
is,
no.
Guar was awesome.
They still kind of are. I don't.
Well, ever since I
The
believe it's
first lead singer Odorous passed away, and then it's the second lead singer and it's a chick, but apparently she's pretty good. I have heard a couple of songs; they're not bad.
but
It's just
I love Guar. They're silly. They're fun. But
they're definitely like that camp. Like
We should actually talk about like what defines metal versus rock before. Oh, I guess it's too late for before. But since we started talking about all these,
Yeah.
and then compared it to some other stuff, so do you want to start us off on what you think qualifies metal versus rock, and where you can figure out that difference?
I mean, there's some difference just based in the themes where metal songs will have a darker nature, war, death, depression, but they may not necessarily be all that. A lot of it ends up in the guitar chords, the different distortion of the instruments and the way that they use them.
Yeah, a lot of
Versus,
distortion, a lot of
yeah.
aggression.
well, if we're going back to like saying the history, like some of that like more heavier sound actually came from an accident with I think it's the fuck was his name, Tony Iommi, the guitarist for Black Sabbath. He had to actually tune down his chords because he lost the tips of two of his fingers in an accident.
Yeah, so I was going to cover that, but before that, a lot of the distortion came from people such as like Jimi Hendrix playing around with it during psychedelic rock and really just fucking around with the distortion. Because, I mean, you can hear it in any time that he does. Well, you could have heard it. Any time that he would play, there was some distortion in it. There was feedback. There was some added just
It wasn't clean.
grungy sound
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah, and,
And,
you
even
know,
Iron
another
Maiden did a lot. Like,
really
bring it back. Iron Maiden did that with like Iron Butterfly and stuff. Not Iron Butterfly did that with.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that Jimi Hendrix is more popular than Iron Butterfly
Oh yeah, no, I'm just saying.
by a long shot. Cream.
I mean,
you
a
could-
lot of it also started from just getting louder, right? It's partially just the volume. It was louder than the music of the day. Like Jimi Hendrix
Yes.
was notably louder at times than other artists.
Yes. So that's one thing that Tony Iommi was on record as saying. He went to a BB King concert, and they never, when he started playing, they never shut up, like the people who were watching it. So he couldn't actually hear him. So it was just like, we're just going to be loud enough that we don't have to hear people. We want, to drown out the fucking people
That's
talking.
actually why the Beatles originally stopped touring because they didn't have speakers loud enough to fucking play over the screaming fans.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. That's the Beatles stopped doing live performances a while into theirs because they just didn't have loud enough speakers to play over screaming fans and stuff, so nobody could hear them.
Yeah, but all four of the original Black Sabbath guys are all from the same little town that starts with a B in England that nobody can ever pronounce because I don't care enough. I think it's Brighton.
Brighamton.
Yeah, that's the one, Binghamton.
There we go.
And
We got it, guys. We got it.
a lot of them went to school with each other, like Ozzy and Tony. They went to school together.
Did they? Okay,
They
that
did,
tracks, yeah.
and they hated each other. They were on opposing gangs.
I can see that.
That's
Straight
kind of
up.
funny.
Yeah. Tony was a welder, and he was on record as saying that it was going to be his last day working. He was quitting the day that he got into the accident. He was typically a welder, but they had him swap over as a guy doing a commercial pressing, and his hand got too close and got rid of the tips. So, but
And then
Hey, it was a rough start, but it certainly ended well for him.
so I believe they actually released one EP before that happened. Don't quote me on that. But he kind of made his own style after that.
I mean, then there's the
But yeah, it's typically associated with a
Def Leppard.
darker, more aggressive tone and nature. Not that it's a requirement, but there's often a lot of satanic and ritualistic elements that get involved. For a lot of the songs, there
Yeah.
can be. There's a lot of also anti-war. Like War Pigs was very anti-Vietnam.
Well, a lot of music
It's
usually
very, very
incorporates
anti-Vietnam.
politicalization into it in some form.
Well, a lot of it was just weaving that kind of social commentary into their lyrics, right? That's something that I guess is very common throughout music nowadays to the point where we don't think of it, but beforehand, it really wasn't.
I mean, there's always a social commentary,
Of course.
but
Or just talking about sex.
yeah, a lot of sex. That's a lot of glam metal, hair metal.
Pop music.
That is a lot of glam metal.
Yeah, they're just like bringing on the sexiest chicks that they can.
Hair metal.
That's what I said, hair metal. So, yeah, let's talk a little bit about what makes some metal different from other metal. Like glam metal, hair metal, that got really big in the late 70s to 80s. And you could argue that, like, Twisted Sister was the biggest name for that particular style. And they just had really long, permy hair, and they really did themselves up. They were super prolific on stage. They were very loud and boisterous and very in-your-face attitude.
I mean,
But again,
big
they
songs
really,
literally We're not going to take it.
yeah, they really dressed
mean-
themselves up and almost Elton John, almost Freddie Mercury levels of just flamboyance. It
Easily, but for them, to some degree, the spectacle kind of was their product. It wasn't just the music. People were flocking to these shows to see the crazy hair, the crazy performance, along with listening to the music.
yeah. I mean, same thing with like Kiss. A lot of people go to
Yeah.
Kiss because they want to see a show. They don't want to hear Kiss. They just want to see the show. They want the experience.
I saw Kiss.
I know.
You could argue like Poison to some degree too.
Poison, Alice Cooper was another huge one. They
Motley Crue.
they all tend to have huge, and I mean huge. Yeah, just the different types of rock, hair metal, glam metal. I mean, Alice Cooper, they're huge for it. Another guy that was big for it is Ozzy. I mean, there's all sorts of people that sometimes you just go to get the experience, especially in metal. Especially glam metal,
Oh,
hair metal.
100%.
Like he said before, like Rammstein. I've heard Rammstein concerts are some of the most entertaining things you'll ever go to.
Guar.
Guar.
Puss.
Rammstein's concerts I've heard are really intense. I'd actually love to go to one.
Dude, I've seen I've heard people like who've went to the concerts. They saw scalpers trying to put tickets up for like $1,500 a pop and shit.
Yeah.
Like
Rough.
they're not fucking cheap. Those tickets though.
No, that's why I have to get lucky. Thanks, Ticketmaster.
Yeah. Ticketmaster, an absolute catastrophe lately.
Who would have thought the thing that bring Ticketmaster on was Taylor fucking Swift of all things?
Yeah, definitely
Honestly,
not
it was
sponsored by
the
them.
funniest thing.
Definitely not sponsored by them.
No.
And from the sound of it, we probably won't be for a while.
Very unlikely.
But that's okay. Fuck them. So,
I mean, honestly,
Do
sometimes
that.
you just go to the show day of and get tickets right there at the door.
thrash metal. Let's talk about some of the defining features of thrash, because that is another huge and important section of metal. I mean, you can argue that, there's other things in between, but let's talk about the main pillars that go from metal to metal. We talked about glam metal, hair metal, and how influential and how prolific that was in the 80s. Let's go on to the next runner-up, which would be thrash metal. I think the timeline checks out on that.
I mean, it kind of checks out. Thrash and hair were kind of developing at similar, if not almost the same time. So it's actually interesting that you have these two different genres of metal moving along at similar speeds at the same time. But thrash is the most extreme incarnation of heavy metal, like
I don't know
more
about that
rhythmic than melodic. But
I don't know about that one. I mean, there's
oh,
death metal and black metal and how aggressive and just grueling they sound. I would say that those are other extremes and other variants of. I feel like each section can just have one defining feature of what makes it really stand out. It's kind of like stats on like a Pokemon chart or one of those little fucking things
You ever hear
where
of,
it's like this is maxed out. Thrash is maxed out in terms of aggression on.
I'd say speed. Thrash is speed based.
Yeah.
Aggression / speed on instruments. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
They're very.
For sure.
They are
I
very,
think-
very, very heavy riffs, which
I think like the like if you want to point to the best example, it'd probably be like Painkiller by Judas Priest would be probably the.
that's a good one. I would say
That is a good one.
Pantera is probably
a good thrash metal. Yeah.
Pantera is probably. They came out in 80s, 90s. They were probably the most prolific of that time, which is why I tend to say that because Judas Priest wasn't just thrash.
No, Judas Priest
So-
was a lot of other stuff. It's, I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
But yes, they were coming out along similar times, hair and thrash. But hair took over, and then thrash took over in terms of
Yeah.
like sure you'd have the individual things like Painkiller and the like, but it wasn't up until after hair metal kind of sort of died down and punk rock and thrash metal really started to come about in the 80s and 90s afterwards to really make up the speed.
Would you consider punk?
I mean,
rock
you
a
can
form of metal?
correct me if I'm wrong, but it's almost like as hair metal died off and like hair died out and thrash survived.
Yeah.
So who actually won that arms race at the end of the day?
I would say hair metal, glam metal. Mostly
Honestly,
because I
pop
would
punk.
mostly because I feel like those got more notoriety, those got more acclaim, those got more accolades during its time, during its run. Sure, it didn't last as long, but I feel like that got more notoriety.
Yeah, we've all definitely heard of them for sure.
Whereas
They're definitely the most notorious group.
whereas thrash metal, it was more or less just individual songs with a couple notable exceptions. Mostly Pantera being like the largest thrash metal in terms of this is their whole shtick for a band.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, if you do want to look at, lost my thought there. Oh, I was
nerd.
going to say Cunt Crusher. Do you know Cunt Crusher at all?
I can't say I do.
They're pretty. My personal favorite is Infant Annihilator by them. No, it's Infant. No, the band is Infant Annihilator. The song is Cunt Crusher. I'm sorry.
As you should be.
Yeah, look up Infant Annihilator. They're pretty good.
Question is, Steel Panther.
I'd say they're parody metal.
Parody metal mixed in with glam 80s metal.
I saw
Where it started to tone down a little bit in terms of where it was still very much like heavy metal, classic metal, but it was starting to get influenced by some other shtick.
Well, then there's like
Van Halen. They're metal, but they're not one defined thing, so they're just kind of metal.
No.
I mean, there's also like say the Darkness. The guys who did.
You got country metal.
Oh Lord, country metal.
Arguably,
Oh God.
arguably the most notable we could say is ZZ Top is country metal.
ZZ Top would be
All
country
right.
metal. Yeah,
That's
I can see how
fair.
that works.
They were country metal.
They have a lot of inspiration on both ends, and they just kind of made it work, you know?
I love how the only guy without
Yeah.
a beard. His last name is Beard.
Well, yeah, he has a beard. It's at the end of his name.
The one without the beard. His last name is Beard.
Well, yeah, he has a beard. It's at the end of his name. Just said that. But metal is as metal does. You know? It's just,
I mean, the important thing is just that metal never dies.
yes.
No.
So can we talk about metal and pop culture? a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, you got things like This is Spinal Tap, the movie.
Fantastic mockumentary. Probably the most successful and well-known mockumentary.
I mean, there's not a lot of mockumentaries, though, so yeah.
I
There's
mean,
a few, but, like, it's not the biggest genre of movie.
you could argue Tropic Thunder, but it's not really.
I wouldn't say Tropic Thunder is a mockumentary, because it's not just shot in a documentary style. There's no interviews.
Yeah, that's what I said, but like not really. Then you would
Yeah,
have like
definitely not
Dewey
really.
Cox.
Dewey
Dewey Cox Walk Hard.
It's not a mockumentary. That's
Dewey Cox is 100% a mockumentary.
I would say it's more of a.
It was very much a parody of the
It was a parody of
previous
Walk the
year's
Lo- of,
Walk Hard with Joaquin Phoenix, a documentary of Johnny Cash.
That wasn't a documentary. That was a biopic.
Fine.
A documentary is like interviews. Are we going to?
So we're
Okay,
we're
we're gonna
drawing
have
a
a
very
whole
fine
tangent
line
about,
here
like-
between the two.
All right, going on a whole tangent about what's a mockumentary. First off, I guess
And
we have
he'll
not.
walk.
We have to.
Hard.
A documentary is like a movie. Like it's not even.
It's a movie?
No,
Wow.
they're not
I'm
even
so
they're-
glad.
Oh wow!
They're okay. They're technically not movies. Documentaries are they're like because they incorporate like research and interviews and like stock footage and stuff versus a biopic like the one about Johnny Cash with Joaquin Phoenix. That's just kind of showing what his life was. It's dramatized. It's a whole different. They're two completely different like genres.
And you never pay for drugs.
So by that logic, could we almost argue that somehow The Office was a mockumentary?
Yes, The Office was a mockumentary because it was shot in a documentary style.
Not once.
Same thing with Parks and Rec at first until they decided to abandon that, I think, in season 2 or 3.
No, they continued with it.
Is that abandoned it?
No, they
I could have
continued with
sworn they
it.
abandoned that style after a while.
No, they continued with it.
Yeah, mockumentaries, The Office is a mockumentary. Yeah, it's because it's based off them filming a documentary about Dunder Mifflin. Well, the American one, if memory serves, I've never seen it. Whatever but
Spinal Tap. This is comma.
yeah, no, that's a mockumentary, and that's about a heavy
Colon?
metal group.
Semicolon?
Whatever. I think it's semicolon.
I don't know. I'm sure we'll
the
get.
first drummer died in a freak gardening accident. It's my favorite bit.
I'm sorry, a freak gardening accident?
Yes.
I have to see this shit.
You've
okay.
never seen This is Spinal Tap?
No, I'm just
my
imagining
God.
someone chopping their
Oh my
head off
God.
with a
Please.
garden shear.
Please.
Oh, so many
Fucking
great
upgrade your
quotes.
life.
Yes, but our speakers go up to 11.
Oh my God.
But why don't you see most
Mini
speakers?
Stonehenge.
It's the fucking mini stone. Oh my. Okay, so they're doing like a whole Stonehenge themed like a tour because they did like kind of like a mystical themed album in the show, and
For this
there's-
in particular song, they bring out Stonehenge, but they mess up because
instead of putting the little one dash for like the one like comma thing for feet
they put in 2 because they get it backwards.
for inches.
They have 15-inch
Oh no.
Stonehenge. So it's like,
instead of
I
15-foot
have a bunch of
Stonehenge.
fucking midgets running around.
And it's fantastic.
It's just
One of the drummers,
15-inch Stonehenge.
one of the guys gets stuck in one of like this birthing pod type thing that they have set up. Their drummer constantly dies. One of them spontaneously combusts on stage.
oh shit.
Oh my god.
They talk about how
This
This guitar
guitar's
has-
never been held by human hands. He's
Meanwhile-
fucking holding it in his hand.
yeah.
So this guitar is special. It was never been held by human hands.
Meanwhile, he is actively
Holding it
holding
in
it
his
and
hand.
showing it off. They have this entire famous joke about how their speakers go to 11, but why don't you just make 10 louder and remove 11? Yes, but these go to 11. But if you just get rid of 10, but if you just get rid of 11
Yeah.
and make 10 louder, but 11's louder than 10.
See, the thing is a smart person would simply say that on stage it would be a good crowd gimmick to get the crowd a little bit more hyper. Oh, we're going to 11 when you're on stage. He's just like, oh,
But
11.
these go to 11. And 11 is bigger than 10. So therefore, 10
that movie's
is
so
not
good.
as loud as 11. So we have 11.
Yeah, that movie's great.
Oh,
Then they proceed. They do a lot of callbacks to that in like Metal
it's
Apocalypse
fantastic.
too.
yeah.
The whole episode with,
Metalocalypse. We talked about it on the
Metalocalypse.
we talked about it on the Shadow Band episode.
the Shadow Realm episode.
Yeah, that-
the king of games sent the podcast to the Shadow Realm.
Yeah, the welcome to the Lost Episodes Club. So the Lost Episodes Clubs involves a couple of things.
There's two now.
Hopefully, this one doesn't get involved in it. But
Hopefully.
The first one was a corrupted file.
first one was a corrupted
Oh,
file.
no.
We talked about
Games Workshop
Games
and 40K.
Workshop and 40K. Second one was Adult Swim. And we talked briefly about Metalocalypse, which, since it's the metal show, let's talk about Metalocalypse and how they are death metal,
It was death metal. Yeah, the genre
Very-
they were doing it's death metal.
Yeah, it was death metal.
which
Except for the one time they did a blues song.
Did they really?
Callback,
Technically, yes.
and they summoned a demon. Callback.
All right, now
No,
that
it
makes
wasn't a
perfect
demon, it was
sense.
a troll.
Right, sorry, troll. But callback. Metal starts from blues.
Yeah,
Yes, it does.
but yeah, they all get kind of depression. So a blues guy comes in and teaches them to play the blues, and they proceed to write the best blues song ever. Murder Train coming. Yeah, here comes a murder train.
Yeah.
They also have a Mermaider. It's a
Mermaid.
song about mermaids doing murder. Yeah, if you haven't
Thunder
watched
Horse.
Thunder Horse is a good one. Thunder. I think the whole music video of that was a send up to like Frank Frazetta and Conan. Because they had the music video portion of it in the video at the beginning episode.
Probably.
And they decide to scrap that whole album and song. That's what they do, Death Water. Because that's the Death Ocean episode too.
Yeah.
And that's where Toki goes and plays that really good little bop song in the middle of the ocean, singing with his sea friends.
Dreamstar Requiem.
Yes,
Love
you've
that one.
mentioned
If we're talking about pop culture too, we could also include our friends over at Bat Metal.
Yes, so very recently on YouTube and a couple other things, this Bat Metal ended up becoming popular, which is just
Death Clock songs.
with super poorly animated Batman and Batman parody. Like
Yeah,
they make
those
him
songs are from Metalocalypse, Death Clock.
like they make him a fat
Right.
Batman with huge lips, and he just loosely sings or lip syncs to it.
It's like really loose.
Well, I think the joke was because they're parodying the whole. It's weird because it seems to be partially set in the Arkham universe, but they're parodying Christian Bale's voice from The Dark Knight,
Yeah,
which
Yeah.
is it's weird because it's funny because aside from Heath Ledger's the Joker, Christian Bale's legacy for that Batman is just basically the gravel voice,
yeah.
which is a shame because I really
Yeah.
like Christian Bale's Batman.
He was a good.
I mean, he was
something.
good, but he was very much overshadowed by Heath Ledger.
He was a
think-
good something.
I think okay. Here's what I think. I think Batman Begins in terms of it's a very good basic. This is what Batman is movie. Like here's his origin. Here's how he became Batman. The Dark Knight is a very quintessential Batman versus Joker movie, and
And then add in Harvey Dent.
yeah, and then throwing in Harvey Dent, and I mean,
2/3 of the way movie through, we start a second movie.
yeah, but whatever.
Yeah.
I think the thing is Christian Bale was a good Batman aside from the gravel voice. He was a good Bruce Wayne, but the problem was he was written to not want to be Batman the whole time while wanting to be Batman. It's really weird because like he seemed like the second he could just quit being Batman, he'd quit being Batman. Like He stops being Batman like 4 or 5 times during the whole trilogy. It's weird.
Yeah.
I think it's
This is a metal podcast.
Yes, it is.
well, we're stumbling here.
Slightly.
I mean, there's stumbling and then there's falling off a cliff.
I think what should have happened was they should have introduced
what should have
Catwoman in
happened-
the second movie
I think what should have happened
instead of Harvey Dent.
I think what should have happened is we go back to talking about some of the pillars of metal. New metal. That for
I think
all
you're
of
right.
like 7 years was everywhere.
We're talking like Linkin Park. No, Linkin Park.
Linkin Park's new metal.
Yeah, Linkin
Korn.
Park's new metal, Limp
Korn,
Bizkit, Papa
Limp Bizkit.
Roach,
Korn.
Korn.
I saw
Korn's
live.
fantastic.
I saw them live once. They're pretty good. Yeah. This it was them at Avenged Sevenfold.
Pretty much anything that merged the up and coming rap. I guess it really wasn't up and coming, but
No.
anything that merged rap with metal / semi punky.
Yeah,
it
that kind of
really-
became new metal.
And it really, really took off in the late 90s to about 2006, where it fucking died. And everything got left behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I guess
once
in the
again,
end,
pop
it didn't
punk.
even matter.
But
Try
It-
so hard.
you still hear some new, Korn, some new Limp Bizkit.
Does
And it
Korn
just-
still do new things?
I'm just saying, like, you'll still hear some of their newer stuff, and it just doesn't resonate as much.
I like.
It was very- The riffs were very aggressive. The instrumental, the solos, they were all very aggressive, but the lyrics and vocals that went along with it were very rap and hip hop.
I. Yeah.
I mean, Alien Ant Farm's Smooth Criminal, it was fantastic. New metal.
Fantastic.
I was gonna say. I mean, "She's Out of Her Mind" by Blink-182 was like that new song they did. I thought that was a pretty solid song. The other couple that came out, singles from that album, weren't terrible, but I thought that was pretty solid.
And then
I really
after
liked
that, we have to go into Screamo emo.
Is that metal though?
I would argue that's metal.
I would agree that that's metal, even if it's not everyone's ideal.
It's definitely not rock, and it stemmed from metal with those
Yeah.
dark, aggressive
Yeah,
tones.
yeah. Well, there was the 3 waves of emo. There was the first wave.
Where it was
This-
like My Chemical Romance.
No, that's the third wave. My
That's
Chemical
the third?
Romance was third wave emo.
All right, talk, Mr. Emo.
Sorry, I literally just watched a video about the emo subculture like 2 days ago.
This is fantastic. Talk.
Yeah, no, technically, like the My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy, that's considered the third wave emo. That was like when it became like mainstream. The second wave was just before that, and then yeah, no, emo actually stems back into the 90s.
Okay, so talk a little bit.
All right.
I'm sorry, I'm kind of drawing a little bit of a blanket. It was like 2 days ago.
How dare I put you on the spot? for
literally
this?
just watched the video and
How
was-
dare you know about this topic
it was,
a week in
and
advance?
it wasn't really necessarily about like say the history. History was because they kind of like it was like a little bit. It was more talking about just kind of how the genre like became quickly demonized and like because there was like in a few different countries there was like a whole big wave of like emo murders and stuff and people being accused of like witchcraft and shit.
Oh yeah, that's right. We didn't talk about the pop culture
Oh, yeah.
phenomenon of like murders and suicide pacts. Let's quickly talk about that.
Are
No,
we talking
we
about the
didn't.
whole
Let's
Iron
talk
Maiden
about it.
thing?
We didn't talk about it. Let's talk about
that
that real
Iron
fast.
Maiden?
So, starting with Black Sabbath, before that too, but really, as again mentioned, Black Sabbath was like the first dedicated metal group that had any sort of notoriety. And with them, there were people that committed suicide, and Paranoid was on one of their albums. There were the Son of Sam was quoting Black Sabbath songs as he was committing murders.
Was he really?
Yes.
Huh. Okay, that tracks.
So,
And then again, he thought the dog was
Great
Tom.
advertisement for metal there.
so all of this stems into like huge uproars. Columbine, all sorts of shit, all get associated with
Well, Columbine Day was it was
video
Marilyn
games.
Marilyn Manson. That was
specifically, yes,
Yeah.
Marilyn Manson. But
Yeah.
that
and
is metal.
It was
Marilyn
Marilyn
Manson.
and Doom were the
still
two
metal.
big blame things for that one. Yeah.
Where does Marilyn Manson fall in the genre?
I
I think he ranges from like emo to.
No, I want to say he was goth.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you goth metal.
All right, I'll give it.
But there's all sorts of different facets that just sort of crawl out with metal and how it's just this brutal.
Oh, they call him industrial. Interesting. Okay, that tracks too.
I could see industrial as well with some of the stuff.
Yeah, I could
but,
see it as well.
But this brutal, dark music, these horrible lyrics
Darkness, no parents.
that people want to just commit acts of violence to.
Burning down churches.
I mean, a lot of the darker metal music that got any sort of notoriety had music videos that were associated with being dark. I mean, just look at any Marilyn Manson video and you'll know that it's this creepy gothic horror style, which all stems back to Black Sabbath and the like, where
my favorite music video
they
is the one with
wanted
the Power Rangers building. But Marilyn Man.
so
Sorry.
Black Sabbath, they were largely inspired by like horror novels and horror movies and that feeling that makes you scared. And
Hey, call back to an episode, horror movies.
yeah, and they drew a lot of inspiration from that, and so they would want to try and distort things and make things try and get that feeling of a horror movie. Obviously, it wasn't as dark and grueling as some things like, as mentioned, Marilyn Manson, where they have, spiders crawling out of mouths and shit like that in the music video. But it was an insanely different thing.
I'd say probably the best in terms of thematic music videos like that is the one for Nine Inch Nails, Closer. Me and Pat used to sing that in the town trucks back in the day. Wait, do you know Closer by Nine Inch Nails? You have to know Closer by Nine Inch Nails.
I know Closer by 9 Inch Nails.
I used to sing that in the truck.
9 Inch Nails, another group you should check out. Very good.
Yeah, arguably pretty good.
Arguably pretty good.
Sorry, I thought had a two
Arguably.
kind of smashed together there for a second.
They're arguably pretty good. Debatably just fine, though.
Just debatably, right?
This
You get me closer to God.
Even things recently, though, like Slipknot's also creepy to some degree. Like,
I'm not a fan
it
of
just
Slipknot.
seems to kind
I'm
of
not-
roll along with the genre.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it doesn't, but there was this nice little break where everything turned sexy for glam and hair metal.
Just for a little while. Just a short blip.
And same
Then we
thing
were
with,
back.
Same thing with like Van Halen and where they were going with like trying to have, sexy time, Motley Crue. Everything was during the 80s. Everything was sexy.
I feel like glam's getting a bit of a comeback recently, particularly with like Peacemaker.
Yeah, a little bit.
Have you seen Peacemaker at all, by the way?
Not sponsored.
Them I have not seen.
Not
It's
sponsored.
actually pretty.
Not sponsored.
It's pretty good. John Cena, just surprisingly
Not
pretty
sponsored.
funny.
I'll have to take a look at it.
We are not sponsored.
I mean, you can see this.
I mean, if they're not sponsored, I can't look. Sorry.
It's on HBO Max, not sponsored there.
Yeah, not a sponsor.
If you have that.
That said, we pay for our HBO like good little boys. We don't pirate things because they don't pay us to watch them. Not sponsored. And yeah, it's solid.
Yeah, the
Oh,
intro is pretty
sure.
solid too. That has the wake wham, which is like just from like 2006. That song. Did you know that?
Let's talk about the next one. Third wave emo screamo, like we started to talk about, and then kind of got distracted.
Well, that's like
Got
ni-
heavily distracted.
fuck.
This happens. Stumbling down history
Panic
road.
at the Disco.
Panic at the Disco, My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy.
Yeah.
A whole lot of that.
I'd say for of the three of those big three, I'd say probably My Chemical Romance is the closest to metal. Fall Out Boy and Panic at the
Yeah,
Disco is
Fall Out
very
Boy is
much
closer to
punk.
pop. Yeah.
So, what actually is the difference between punk rock and metal? Because punk rock is known for being loud, fast, and aggressive.
Punk rock typically sticks to 3 punk chord and sticks under about 2 minutes 30 seconds.
Ah, that got popular with the Ramones. Because before that, they were still doing like that whole 3.5, almost 4 minute long songs. The Ramones really picked that up and made it the whole CGBG era, just kind of like really condensed all the songs.
Yeah, no, I'd say punk is, but they also, yeah, they typically use like the punk power chords, try and stay below 2.5 minutes, and
Little
and
distortion.
very much keep their songs very political. Like they tend to do a lot of political in their songs, where
There's
metal,
also very little distortion in it.
yeah, very little distortion.
Yeah, very
Not
little
that-
distortion.
Not that
And
metal,
I'm not sure if you all noticed, but I tend to hear a lot more bass in metal than I do in punk.
Yeah,
not that metal can't get political, but typically typically punk rock is closer to folk than it is metal in terms of their lyrics. Lyrically.
yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
But yeah. After that, like I said, we have screamo, which is like Black Veil Brides, Pierce the Veil, shit like that.
That's more of a metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All sorts of just. I wish we had the third person that was supposed to be here. He fucking ditched us. Fucking nerd.
Bugger.
Yeah, right?
Is next week guy still on?
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as I'm aware. He hasn't told me otherwise.
All
We have a
right.
special guest. As you can see, it's holiday time.
Oh, are we doing a Christmas episode? Christmas movie one or something, or
We're doing holiday stuff
for the 17th?
for the upcoming holiday theme. We'll talk about that off camera.
All right, whatever.
But yeah, from there, metal kind of dies down after that. It doesn't really have much of a resurgence, and it sort of just kind of meanders about after really like
Yeah.
My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy. Like I said, with that being there, kind of goes back to like alt rock, which has some
In the end,
distortion,
alt-rock and
but
punk pop seems to be the biggest genre running in terms of that.
yeah, which has similarities to metal and has ties with metal, but it's not metal.
No.
No.
You can still hear metal. I mean, there is huge scenes of black metal, death metal, which are all just super aggressive and basically just shit that talk about like,
It's still big overseas too, in like
oh
the
yeah.
Scandinavian countries.
Oh, it's insane. But they're just
So, yeah.
very much that guttural response metal, which personally it is not my cup of tea. I know it's good for a few a good number of my friends, but not for me.
I do really that whole like black metal, death metal, and all that is a guilty pleasure of mine. Because like on Thursday nights, one of the local college radio station, not sponsored, they do. Although I should hit them up about possibly doing like an ad on their thing or something like that.
What, with us?
Yeah.
Stumbling down.
Anyway, but they do on Thursday nights. They do an emo afterglow where it's like emo and that like screamo music. And then,
Okay, so like Black Veil Brides, Pierce the Veil, My Chemical, that
yeah,
type of
yeah,
shit.
all
Okay.
that. And then
Yeah.
after that, they do they call it punk rock, but it's not really punk. It's like the heavy black death metal and stuff and all that types of like the hard, like real hardcore shit. And
I mean, there are thriving scenes of just local indie underground musicians. Metal is not dead by any means.
no.
In terms
No,
of on
not
the
even close.
charts, it might be dead right now. But fuck them.
Oh yeah, I mean,
It's
hell, the Juggalo subculture still has its own minor foothold, still hanging around.
Oh, that's something we got to cover. The history of the Juggalos.
I will see who I could get for that because I think we've already established. I'm a former Juggalo.
Expand the lore.
Although I guess you can never say you're former because it's still kind of like a.
Do you still whoop whoop?
You know, if
It's
somebody,
still a part
I
of
still
you,
wear the
regardless
shirts.
of whether you want it to be or not.
I still wear the t-shirts because they're still, they still fit and they still are t-shirts. And, sometimes I get a whoop whoop and sometimes I'll whoop whoop back. I don't wear the Charmins anymore. And occasionally I listen to the music, but it's more of just kind of like the mindset of like, just fuck it, be whatever you want to be.
So yeah, that lore is established. Let's establish a little bit of my lore. I am a huge fucking nerd.
We've kind of been over this.
D&D, MTG, Warhammer, comics. Huge fucking nerd. Mostly Marvel comics. So when it comes to
DC Comics.
for you, DC,
Oh, it's always been DC. Batman,
gross.
Superman.
Go away. You're gross.
One of my favorite characters is comic book Aquaman because he's just so ridiculous. He cuts.
I'm going to
off
be
his
the odd
own
man out
hand.
who doesn't read comics, aren't I?
That's okay. You write books.
Wait, what books do you?
You're right, I do.
Are you still working on, or is it done?
It's done. It took a while, but it's done.
What do you write?
He wrote a novel.
A boot?
Yeah, I wrote a nice long dystopian novel.
Hey, quick shout out.
Is
Plug
it
it.
YA dystopia?
Why dystopia?
YA,
well,
young adult.
You know,
Hunger Games.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
you mean Western
also-
Battle Royale?
Yeah. If you want to shout it out, I don't know if it's out yet and if people can pick it up, but shout it out.
it's not. I haven't got anyone to pick it up, so I don't have anything for you yet.
I think you get self-published on Kindle now for like.
There you go. Put in the comments if
Yeah.
you get yourself self-published.
Hell,
All right,
hell, you
I'll
could.
put it
I
in the
think you could
comments.
technically read it out loud, do your own thing, and put it on Audible too. Now.
That'll be perfect. I want to eventually try my hand at some some
Oh, you
voiceover
should
work.
do his Audible book.
Do you know how fucking insane Audible books are just in terms of like reading it? I would have to do 4 hours a day
yeah.
for like 12 weeks.
For one novel.
It might be more.
Yeah, depending on how big it is. Number one, I'm not a
It's
fast
like
reader.
300 pages.
Yeah, number one, I'm not a super fast reader. Number two, I have literally never voice overed before, so I have no idea how to work that
I
type
mean, you
of
have
like.
the equipment for it.
Shut up, nerd. So I have no idea
Hey,
how to
you have
like.
the voice for it.
Thank you.
He does. You do have the voice for doing that type of stuff.
Why? Thank you.
You could be the next James Marston.
You're welcome.
James Marston.
Now, do an announcer for me.
Do an announcer for you?
Like an announcer.
Announcer. Come on, sports announcer. You can do it.
Some type of sports announcer? Okay, let's go
Yeah.
with like, let's get ready to. Although
Hey.
that's I gotta remove because he's gonna fucking sue my ass.
Actually, I think he passed away, so he's a state
100%.
now.
100% trademark. So let's get
Oh,
ready
yeah.
to fight.
Oh yeah, you didn't know that? He the guy who did the guy who did that, I think he passed away, so it's his estate who does it now. But yeah, that whole "Let's Get Ready to Rumble" thing, that was that whole style is trademarked, like his voice and stuff. And if it's
You
used
are
in,
not
like,
allowed to use it,
yeah, you're not allowed to use it
At all.
unless you you got to pay for the rights and stuff.
which is why that's gonna
I-
get cut. And you're
Yeah,
just gonna hear
that
me
doesn't stop
talking.
me that you have to do
You know,
that.
you
is
could
why
have
you're
just
just-
put your bleep over it.
Ooh, I do have a bleep function.
Yeah, so you have a censor bar.
You
now.
have a bleep?
I have a bleep. Hold on.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Let's get ready to.
Perfect.
Absolutely
Sunday
fucking flawless.
on Monster Truck Sunday.
Is
Oh,
that
yeah,
like a good
Monster
announcer
Jam.
voice for you?
Good enough. Works for me.
I wonder that it's coming back to the Coliseum at all.
Sunday.
One of these days, I think I'm actually going to see
Here
that
on
just to
I
Monster
wonder
see.
if
Truck
that's
Sunday.
trademarked.
What's up?
I said, I wonder if that's trademarked because I've
All I'm
heard that.
saying is Sunday. I didn't say anything about no monster trucks. I didn't say nothing about no royalties. All right, it's just Monster Truck Sunday.
One of these days, I think we should do one of the when they do Monster Jam at the Coliseum. Just out of curiosity.
Let's bring it back. They'll probably play metal because, as it turns out, a lot of rednecks like metal.
They also like their country.
There's Christian metal
Well,
too.
would be surprised.
Kid Rock.
There is Christian metal. That stuff's confusing.
Which is
Kid Rock.
Kid Rock has had one of the most weirdest arcs in
Oh
music
my-
history.
Oh yeah.
He
Oh
went
my
from being like
God.
the voice of "fuck you," I want to party, do drugs, and be whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
first off, he started off as a rich white boy from the suburbs. We'll start there.
He was a character. He's fantastic. If you ever get the chance to see him live, especially
Yeah, we
during
did
that,
see him live.
especially during that like, fuck the world era of his music.
Although I think that was post when the midget passed away. Wait, was that before? Was the midget there?
I don't remember.
Because he had that midget with him on stage for a while, but then the guy passed away. Yeah, I think this was just after that.
He had the trucker anthem.
Yep.
That was a whole fucking song.
Yeah, he did like a mixture of like metal, country, and rap.
Yep.
And then he
Yep.
all of a sudden went like Jesus, and
And
now
now
he's
I'm
like,
Gowed.
and now
Gowed
he's like
rap.
fucking chilling with Donald Trump.
Gospel music.
I can't
Gospel
believe
metal.
Donald Trump was asking him for political advice like that. This fucking timeline, the Weasel timeline. So
Gospel metal. I love gospel metal.
I didn't know it existed, and now I need to find it.
damn, did you know about
There
the
are
Weasel
so many.
timeline?
There are so many different things of metal that you should check out, as stated. So let's just run down a quick little list
I've noted.
of what you. Are you actually taking notes? Because you're going to get quizzed on this later.
There is the quiz
Oh,
later.
shit. Well, I'm failing that quiz later.
All right. So, what was the first thing that we suggested that you should listen to, but you haven't checked out yet?
Yeah, I'm failing that quiz, as I said.
I think it was Heavy Saurus.
No.
I think so.
No.
I think it was Heavy
No, it
Saurus.
wasn't. It was the Ned Flanders one.
Oh yeah, the Oakley
Oh,
Doakleys.
the
Yeah,
Oakley
that's
Doakleys.
right.
bringing it back to the beginning.
Take
Yeah,
it back now, y'all.
Look up Reading Education or White Wine Spritzers.
2 hops this time. I can eventually figure out how to get some royalty-free music and have some royalty-free metal.
Perfect.
But-
Needs to happen.
Ugh, it'll be great. But
It'll be a good day.
in terms of notable albums, what do you recommend?
In terms of notable albums,
Yes, do you have any notable albums that you would recommend for the listener?
mine is going to default to Indestructible.
Disturbed?
And, yep, Disturbed.
Okay, that's good for industrial
And then-
slash.
Is that the one with Land of Confusion on it?
I think that was the one before it.
No, I don't think so. And then there is one other that I always forget the actual name of, but it's fantastic.
So I think it's Land of Confusion, which has 10,000 fists.
It's
10,000
10,000 Fists is the album it's on.
And that's a cover from Genesis. Genesis's cover of Land of Confusion, which is
Yeah.
a really weird music video if you've never gotten the chance
Oh,
to
I've
take a
seen
look
it.
at
It's so weird.
It is the weirdest video.
I would say, so I like a fair amount of Disturbed's covers and a fair amount of metal covers. But how did we not mention Five Finger Death Punch, by the way? They're probably the biggest
did we do
current
that?
metal, like still putting out a lot of new stuff.
Yeah, I don't
I would say
listen
they're
to
probably
them.
the
Them and
biggest.
Slipknot.
I
think
would
Slipknot's still actively
argue.
putting out shit.
I would argue that Five Finger Death Punch is bigger in terms of more current stuff, but
Yeah,
I
I
would.
tend to agree.
But that's neither here nor there. Also, Tool.
Yeah.
Tool's good.
Never mentioned Tool. get a chance to check out
You
Tool.
know,
They're
I'm-
very experimental metal
Oh.
and a lot of instrumental stuff.
Bring it back to the rock episode.
I've seen them. I like them. Weird question,
Fighters.
weird proposal, but how would we classify like the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, for instance?
Yeah, as an orchestra, it's in the name.
Yeah, they're
Duh.
I mean, it's an orchestra, but
They're
So-
orchestral metal and operatic metal.
Yeah.
I like operatic metal.
I do enjoy operatic metal too.
You could argue that Meatloaf is operatic metal.
Yeah, you can.
He's definitely
Yeah.
in the operatic metal, operatic
Well, I'd
rock.
say was though. R.I.P.
Yeah. Same thing with some of the heavier Queen songs, like March of the Black Queen, which nobody fucking knows about.
I feel like I've heard that.
Oh,
Song
you can
I've
count
put it
me
on
among
for you.
those.
I put it on for you. It's
been
like
on.
an 8-minute long song, and
Screw it. Put it on the
Honestly-
car on the ride back. It's been a minute.
honestly, check it out, Chris.
A good
I
one.
will.
If you want a really good long one, 2112 by Rush.
But we should get back to the notable albums that we should recommend.
We didn't really let him finish plugging his book. We should do that before we go. I'm sorry
Well-
about that, by the way.
Well,
No, you're
First off-
fine. I said I'm going to plug it in the comments.
plug it in the comments. I'm going to put it in the description because, as it turns out, if we can't get his book,
Well, I meant like when he self-publishes it on Kindle.
yeah,
or whatever.
I'll put it out in the description. Do you have an Instagram or a YouTube or anything that you want to plug otherwise?
No, I'm kind of quiet normally.
All right, well, fuck you too.
Anyway, back to where
What?
we were then.
Oh,
Right? So
well,
for,
guys.
So back to the albums.
For
Jackson's
me-
gonna list his.
I would say probably either the self-titled album Black Sabbath or Paranoid, just in order to truly understand and feel where metal came from and where it got its roots, because it is very heavily religiously inspired, very much like horror films, horror movies, horror books. Like, I would say that Black Sabbath is just Led Zeppelin turned up to 11.
Yeah.
And Led Zeppelin is huge for their folk music, for their nerddoms, because they make a lot of Lord of the Rings references, all sorts of shit. And they're the same thing, but for metal and horror movies, horror books, and, you know, making a lot of Satan references. What about you? What would you recommend?
My recommended metal album. I'm gonna go with Metal Gods by Judas Priest.
You would recommend Priest.
I mean,
He's a huge Priest fan.
Priest is
Notably, we have seen Judas Priest 3 times
twice.
live.
We saw
Twice
him
live?
Twice live. The first time.
Damn.
Twice at the Nikon.
The first time was just a regular tour, but the second time they had Heaven and Hell with them, which had Robbie James Dio,
It was Black Sabbath's lineup with Ronnie James Dio.
which is Heaven and Hell. And then they were doing the entirety of the Metal Gods album live, and then they did some other
And
stuff.
there was some other people at that tour.
Yeah, there's a few other people too.
Like
though.
there was
I want to say Mastodon, I think it was.
Mastodon and
Because this was the tour just before Dio passed. This was the summer before Dio passed away.
yeah.
Then it was Mastodon, Heaven and Hell.
How did we not mention Megadeth or Metallica at all? I just noticed that.
Oh, okay.
Carefully and with
fuck.
great
You
vigor.
know what? If we're gonna go with Metallica,
Metallica. I would say that they're probably the influence for thrash metal.
yeah,
I mean,
In terms of notoriety, I'm sure other people were doing it beforehand that didn't get anywhere near as popular. But Metallica is on record the loudest band of all time, and they're probably one of the most successful, if not. They're definitely one of the most successful in terms of music, if not the most successful. But they're one of the most successful groups. Period.
I mean, What's
So
it
I want to
called?
swing back around to a recommended album quick because you brought up Metallica, so I have to mention Master of Puppets. That's just like my obligation here.
The Black Album.
What's the album that
Mm.
has Whiskey in a Jar? Yeah, fuck it. I don't know if you know the song, but Whiskey in a Jar by Metallica. I really like that. That's my favorite variant of that song.
And Megadeth formed from the bassist leaving Metallica and being like, fuck you guys, I'm going to be bigger than you.
Well, it was their second bassist because the first one passed away.
Yeah.
first
Which
one-
is where the drummer shtick for This Is Spinal Tap happens.
Oh, because because the first bassist passed away in a bus accident.
Yeah.
The second one quit to do because they didn't like him. Another one, the third one, I think, quit, and then they got the guy.
There was one that died in a gardening accident. There was one that spontaneously combusted.
I was talking about the.
Oh, okay,
bassist
for actual Metallica, because you said drummer.
No, I was sorry, I talking about the bassists.
But yeah, Metallica is known for going through bassists pretty well. Guns N' Roses we never mentioned.
I was gonna say because we were talking about like with Tony Iommi with the finger thing. I was gonna mention
Def Leppard, you recently.
with the drummer missing his arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Def Leppard, the drummer, he lost his arm in the accident, so he plays with the one arm of the keyboard drum thing.
Yeah.
Still, really
But yeah,
impressive.
Megadeth, the bassist for them ended up leaving, and he was like, "I'm gonna get back at you guys. I'm gonna form my own band. It's gonna be harder. It's gonna be more metal. It's gonna be more aggressive, and it's gonna be more popular, more famous than you could ever hope to be." And they ended up getting a lot of notoriety. I mean, they have like 5 or 6 platinum albums. They've got numerous accolades. But they went up against Metallica, which just fucking beat them. Because, like I said, if not the biggest, if not the biggest name in metal, one of the biggest, and still one of the biggest names in music.
Yeah, but they did in their 2000s kill a lot of their good faith with like the Napster thing, or the LimeWire thing, Napster thing, and then their albums really haven't been that great in a while. Yeah, but like who just put out a really good album just recently? Priest just put out a really good album just recently. And then another one too. I want to say, was it Iron Maiden? I think put out a really good album too recently.
All sorts of people still put out albums. Pretty much everyone from the 70s that's alive is still putting out albums.
Yeah,
which is insane.
Yeah.
Oh, Hatfield can still rock at his age and
Yeah.
not-
AC/DC, metal, fantastic.
Phenomenal.
Didn't mention them at all.
AC/DC. If we're gonna mention the song "Big Balls" by AC/DC.
I've got.
How did we manage to go through a whole metal podcast and not mention AC/DC?
Because we were talking more so about the history of it, and then we got sidetracked. And then we were talking about different genres and how
got
they
sidetracked.
come about. And then we got sidetracked. And then we mentioned some notable albums, and none of us thought to mention, any of the good stuff. So then we got sidetracked. And then from there, we ended up talking about we ended up talking about how it started initially, and then we got sidetracked. But yeah, we tend to get
So
sidetracked.
I'm going to talk about murder again for a second, just because I can.
Ooh,
Murder. Whoa.
Murder.
Um,
Murder most foul.
apparently,
By the way,
in
thank you for saying I have a good voice for reading an Audible book. That
You
means
do.
a lot to me.
I would be honored if when I do release the book, you would read it.
Aw. It's going to sound like a child reads it. I have the reading skill of a 4-year-old. I want you to know that.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Lovely.
Big-
I have the vocabulary of, I have my vocabulary.
Somebody who went to college.
Someone who went to college for a very literary heavy profession.
I went to college, crabs. Yes.
So yeah, you were saying murder.
There's this group in Oslo is
murder.
where they were formed. They're in, I am gonna like completely get this wrong. I think it's in the Netherlands, and they're linked to satanic cults, all that, like legitimately, right? And their lead singer stabbed his bandmate to death for this satanic sacrifice. Like, I'm sorry, you did what? Doesn't that defeat the purpose?
No.
Oh yeah, and then no, who's the one where no, I'm thinking of the one where it was the one band member blew his own brains out, and then they used the picture of it for the album cover.
Heroed?
Yeah, he heroed with a shotgun.
Oh god, I've heard of it too. What the hell is?
Is it Kurt Cobain?
It was a Norwegian metal group. He blew his head off with a
Oh,
shotgun.
Norway.
With a shotgun.
I don't know.
The band members took a picture of it, used it for an album cover, and then they collected some of like the bone bits. They collected like the bone bits, and then would used it as like jewelry and sold it at concerts or some shit too.
No.
Yeah, no, they straight up like took some like the skull bits and stuff and like sold it in jewelry and stuff.
It's the same fucking band. It's Mayhem.
Was it?
Yeah, it's Mayhem. Because the guy who was murdered is Euronymous from Mayhem.
Yeah. I was
been
I think I was just
murder.
watching his thing about that too a little bit ago or whenever it was, but oh yeah, no, they it was like and then I don't know if you could get the it's like you can't get the album in like a lot of places like the original cover and stuff. Very similar to Chumbawamba's original album, by the way. Did you ever hear about that? Did you know about
No.
the Chumbawamba album cover controversy thing? Okay, so you know the song, Chumbawamba with the song Tub Thumpin'?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're actually like really hardcore anarchists. Like no joke, like like full stop destruction of like the government, like hardcore anarchists. So the original, so as like like the original album cover, for the album that Tum Thumpin's on, it was a picture of a very grumpy looking baby being born, and it's straight up. You see like the whole vagina and everything, the baby just coming out of there and everything. Yeah, you look up the original cover. It's on Google Images and stuff, but like it's just like this grumpy looking baby getting pulled out and stuff, and you're like, whoa. And then they changed it to that weird green smile.
All right then. That's
Yeah.
all kinds of interesting.
If we're talking about weird album covers that got people in trouble.
Let's start to settle this down. Let's say either 5 songs or 5 groups that you think that anyone that listens to this podcast should check out. Start, D.
Wow, put me on the spot. Thanks. Already mentioned Judas Priest and Painkiller for one.
It doesn't have to be song from a group.
Okay.
It could be song or group.
All right. Songs. Let's see.
Just 5. That's all you need.
You're a dick.
Just
putting up a finger counter. Dick.
I mean, yes, I'm a dick. But
Judas Priest. Go with a band. Terms of songs, let's go with Cunt Crusher. Let's see. What else? Iron Butterflies in a God Davida. That's metal.
we should mention, by the way, that this is not for kids.
No, this podcast was never for kids. Butterfly with Inagata Vita. Pantera. Go just the band in general. And
One left.
let's go with Whiskey in a Jar by Metallica.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Chris, Same question.
All right, I'm gonna go start with Seether, and
Gross.
then I'm gonna go
Right.
Gross.
into
I said
and
gross.
yeah, and then Grail Knights. I've actually really been enjoying Cthulhu lately. Funny enough,
Eldritch metal.
Eldritch Metal,
Oh, I should have put
Disturbed,
in.
of course.
So we're at number 3.
Then
Last 2.
Metallica.
Already said them.
Shut up.
Am I not allowed to repeat Metallica?
Fine.
It's
I'm
fine.
teasing. I'm teasing.
Go ahead.
Metallica, and then Avenged Sevenfold.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to say that you should check out Black Sabbath just to really figure out where it came from.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's not so much metal, but I would recommend checking out Led Zeppelin, some of their more distorted stuff, where they
Yeah.
get a little bit darker. I don't actually remember the song in particular that I want you guys to... Hold on, let's see if I can pull it up.
On a side note, alien weaponry. If you want something weird with the Maori metal.
Ooh, for sure. They're really good.
We mentioned the Who earlier. There's another one that uses. Ailstorm. Fuck you with an anchor. That's a good one. I don't know if you know that one. If you want pirate metal.
I don't know that one.
I would say Communication Breakdown, Led Zeppelin. That's a good song.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
That's nice and distorted. You can really start to hear some metal influences. I would then say the next major guys would be... I'm going to go with Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
just tell that the lyrics are all just stories. And it works so well. They all play into each other so fantastically. I'm going to go with Maximum Hormone as just a little
J metal. Okay.
as just
yeah,
a
there you
little
go.
plug, so this way we can get some J thrash metal.
Okay. Yeah. What's up, people from Death Note? If you
Yep.
know that one.
Yep. Just because metal took over the world for a while. And it
It extended to other countries.
yeah, so why not check them
Oh
out?
yeah.
And then
I mean, then we have Baby Metal in here too now.
yep, baby metal. I like YA metal.
Baby metal is pretty solid. Yeah.
I
I
like
do
YA
enjoy
metal.
Baby Metal, and
I
then
saw
Negan
Lady
Isu is
Beard?
also really
Ugh.
good.
Negan Ipu?
Oh,
Negan Isu.
Yeah, I love
Human
them.
Chair. Yeah.
Yeah, they're awesome.
It's a Japanese Uncle Fester, a samurai, and Japanese
A samurai Elvis impersonator.
Yeah, samurai Elvis person.
Yeah.
And then some old guy.
And Heartless Scat by Negan Ipu is so good.
Shabba-dabba-dee-oh, shabba-dabba-dee-oh.
You can definitely
So
tell.
good.
You can put that song up against, some of the classic 70s, 80s hits and be like, oh, they definitely drew inspiration for this
Yeah.
riff. They definitely drew inspiration for this solo.
Oh yeah.
They definitely drew inspiration on this. And just really kind of pick and choose where it comes from. That's not on my list, but have fun checking them out anyway. And then I'm going to go with... Let's get something with new metal, because that literally took over the world for all of 10 years.
Yeah.
And then it fucking died like it should have. So we're going to...
Linkin Park, I think, was probably one of the more salvageable ones from them.
So we're going to go with Papa Roach.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
I feel like that is a good place for new metal. Papa Roach. So
Yeah, I'd agree. Papa Roach is a good place to land on for new metal.
not too good, not too bad. Nice in between that gives you a good view of where it's at. That or Smooth Criminal Alien Ant Farm cover. If you're gonna check out a song, I think that's probably one of the
everybody
best.
kind of knows that song.
I think that's probably one of the best covers that's been done by nu metal, and it definitely plays very well into their style.
Yeah.
And
Well, Todd in the Shadows covered it when he kind of did like, because he's like, "Oh,
shout out to YouTuber.
Yeah, he did a
'Cause
he
they
did a
need
one-hit
our help.
Wonderland. He don't need our help. He did the one-hit Wonderland, and he's like, "Well, if I'm gonna do new metal, I'll do like." So he did that song by Alien Ant Farm.
Well, by Michael Jackson, covered by.
Yeah, but
But
Michael Jackson's music still holds up pretty well to this day.
I prefer Prince.
Yeah.
I prefer Prince.
Yeah, but they're two kind of different things. Prince was like rock, whereas Michael
Prince
Jackson
was
pop.
rock, funk, jazz, pop. He was everywhere and anywhere.
Where Michael Jackson very much stuck to pop.
Michael Jackson was very much just pop.
I mean, he did some other stuff and experimented here and there, but his like biggest hits were pop.
What do you mean biggest hits? His only hits. He was almost exclusively just pop.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway,
But I think that's gonna bring us down. And
you want to give her the name of your book since she didn't even mention it at least?
yeah, tell us the name of your book.
Yeah, it's Welcome to Moriene. It's, as I said, it's done. I just haven't